Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 83 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Mr. Gerolf Rowold.
Good evening. How is everyone this evening?
I
didn't know what to say. You got me a little flustered there.
Oh, sorry. All right. I will say thank you for the bullet bourbon. For my birthday, I am sipping it right now.
Great.
So
great.
all my mispronunciations and slurs tonight will be brought to you by Bullet Bourbon.
You're welcome.
Second, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Mr. Timothy Haggis.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hang on, let me try that again. Hey, how's everybody? Hey, how you doing? How's everybody doing? That one. Let's go with the last one.
I'm doing well, Tom. Thank
Can you edit that so it's just the one you wanted?
Yeah, sure. I'll get right
No.
on it.
The joke's ruined. Don't do that.
Oh, okay.
That was the joke. See what? It'll make sense later.
Uh-huh.
Third, writer, actor, and director, Mr. Kyle Fine.
Hey guys, I don't have deja vu very often, but ever since I've been bathing myself in groundhog blood, it's coming around, more often than I thought, which is weird because I don't have deja vu that often. But ever since I've been bathing myself in groundhog blood, it's been coming around more often, which is weird because I don't have deja vu often. But since I've been bathing myself in groundhog blood, it's starting to feel really similar.
Oh, nice one, Kyle.
Thanks.
And fourth, well, we don't have a fourth tonight. Tosh is apparently, we received a telegram from him. He is in the Alps looking for the Yeti part of his family. We hope Tosh is doing well on trying to find his roots and his real parents.
If we all chipped in for 23andMe, we could speed this all up.
We probably could.
That's a good point.
Maybe we should have brought that up before he left.
I thought the whole point was. I thought the whole point was to get rid of him.
Oh, that's true. Our listenership has gone up.
It has, and he sent me pictures of his yurt today. He's got a nice setup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Sending you yurt pics?
Oh my.
Crossing off yurt on my podcast bingo card.
Oh.
I've got it on one of them.
My free space.
Yeah, I'm counting free space as yurt. All right, let's go ahead and poke the monkey and find out what we're talking about tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, Groundhogs and Mimliks! Jeez,
What's a mimlik?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Just go back and try again. Ladies and gentlemen!
Did you say gerbilman?
Yeah, I think so. Can you imagine?
Okay, Ron, give it another shot.
If there were actually gerbil men, would they put us up their butts?
Ron, focus.
Okay, go back. I got it. Ladies and gentlemen, grandmas and rimlicks!
Okay, now you're just doing it on purpose.
Ladies and genitalia!
Have you been drinking?
Maybe.
You got to give me a real one. Still rolling.
Jingling!
Damn it.
Last one. I'm sorry, man.
My mom listens to this.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Barely. Ladies and gentlemen, Groundhogs and Mimics, welcome to the main event. Tonight, it's a time loop tussle as Groundhog Day takes on the edge of tomorrow to see who will break the cycle and who will relive losing this episode over and over and over and over and over. In the first corner from 1993, written by Danny Rubin and Harold Ramis, and directed by Harold Ramis, starring Bill Murray, Andy McDowell, and Chris Elliott. Groundhog Day! In the second corner, from 2014, written by Christopher McQuarrie and Jez Butterworth, directed by Doug Lyman, starring Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and Bill Paxton. Edge of Tomorrow!
We've actually been talking about doing this episode for a few years now, and maybe we've just gotten desperate enough to do it, but usually February is left for, a rom-com or a rom-com, and we decided to celebrate one of the other holidays. Can you call it a holiday? Is it a national holiday?
We lost Gabe. There's Gabe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm back.
Gabe's back.
Sorry, I'm back. I hit the wrong button.
Is the day gonna?
I was trying to unmute.
Is the day gonna start over now that Gabe's back?
Yeah.
That's all part of this. That's all part of this episode too.
Okay.
Rejoining the call over and over.
So, would you guys consider Groundhog Day a national holiday? Is it a national holiday?
I think it's probably one of the most useless holidays, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
I think so too. But
It's a national holiday in a way. Arbor Day is a national holiday.
Right.
Right?
Everybody goes to work.
I rank it right above Halloween.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate Halloween.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a buzzkill. Deal with it.
Oh, that's it. Let's end the show.
Can't even be nice about being a buzzkill.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna suck the fun out of that too.
Okay, so like I said, we've been talking about doing it, and we've always come up with a rom-com or a romance film. So this year we finally get to do these two films back to back, and I have to say, I really like both of these movies, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. So let's go ahead and start things off with our first round, which is writing.
Both of these movies do feature a little bit of a love story and quite a bit of death. So that's good on both counts. Not very often you get movies that combine those like these two do. So the writing aspect of these movies. Oh boy, they both have very similar gimmicks, hooks to them about reliving the same day over and over again. Groundhog Day much more, I would say, magically, right? It's not really explained what's happening, whereas they go overboard explaining scientifically what's going on in Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow seems like it would be a very difficult script to write, because there is so much repetition, and keeping all of that straight and keeping all of the gags and the through lines and the callbacks in place would be difficult. I felt like Groundhog Day may have had more improvisation, whereas Edge of Tomorrow is probably pretty tightly scripted because of the nature of it.
Right.
I think they were both well written. They both played to their gimmicks well. Oh man, Edge of Tomorrow felt really tight and well written, kind of dialed down to exactly what it was, and under 2 hours long, which for a movie of that scope, that budget, and with everything going on, I really feel like they just got by with what they needed to, and I think that aided the movie. Groundhog Day at some points felt a little bit bloated, going back to the same thing maybe one too many times, with just a slight variation. But I did enjoy all of the gags they threw into Groundhog Day. And I love that both of these movies took a look at what would really be the terrible side of immortality. Like the kind of the crushing depression that would set in.
Yeah.
And in Edge of Tomorrow, the frustration, because you have to, you get tired of trying to learn how to beat this unbeatable thing, just would absolutely suck everything out of you. Groundhog Day, he went to suicide pretty fast. I feel like he was already a very curmudgeonly, sad man. He went right to it without knowing that he would survive it. So, yeah, I thought both movies very well written, worked really well with this gimmick and this structure, and I dug them both.
Yeah, I think a movie like this, with this kind of concept, is a unique opportunity to really develop a character more deeply and see a character go through many different phases. I was thinking, it made me think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs to a certain degree, like seeing them go through these needs, or maybe like the 5 stages of grief,
that
or
was
something
that
like
was
that.
how I looked at it, was the stages of grief. Like,
And so
you
you
follow that.
Yeah, and both movies kind of have that kind of situation where they start out, kind of in a, thinking about this situation in one way, and then developing over time into like, coming to terms with it and trying to use it, and then becoming frustrated with it, and then accepting it. And it felt very much like one of those kinds of things. And so you could maybe call it the stages of time travel. And both of them depict that and develop their characters in a way to show each of those stages pretty distinctly. And I think that's probably one of the more interesting things about writing a movie like this, is that opportunity to develop those characters.
Yeah, I think one of the fun parts about both of these stories is the same thing that you get with like an origin story on a superhero, where they start to like, all right, so what can I do with this, special ability? And, the first, 2 to maybe 7 trips through, where they're just starting to kind of grasp what's happening to them and what is allowed and what isn't allowed, is one of the really fun aspects of it. And they both do it really well to almost to a comedic effect. And I think that's, that's one of my favorite parts, is that. And then with both of these movies, it's funny because I get about 75% of the way through both of them, and they both really kind of like hit the brakes, and things tend to slow down as they kind of approach the conclusion. Edge of Tomorrow more so, once they realize that the Omegas moved to Paris. Groundhog Day, once he realizes he can't kill himself. So I think both of them do a pretty good job in that aspect. I think I don't want to say that they're shallow, but both of the protagonists in both of them, there's not a whole lot of depth to them. But when they start out, they start out as very kind of shallow characters, and then as the movie progresses on, they become there's some really good character growth, and they actually become a really well-defined characters by the end of the movie, and that we start eventually, obviously, are we rooting for? So,
yeah, I agree with you on that, Tom. Simply because you can show, you have all that time to play with. You can say, "Well, it's just another day. Well, it's just another day. It's just another day." You can actually show them growing, and you have that opportunity to, these two movies, they're made to have montages in them. A lot of people give montages grief, but these movies, this is what montages were made for. It just to show this passage of time. The whole trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing.
It'd be impossible to do these movies without montages. It would be
absolutely.
Yeah.
There'd be no point to it,
right?
unless you want a movie that's 200 years long,
right,
or something like that.
Yeah, well, and one other aspect of the writing of these movies is that Edge of Tomorrow is based on, I guess, a book or a short story as well.
It was a novel before they turned it into a manga.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. They call it a light novel in Japan. It's basically like a young adult book.
Okay.
Maybe you would think of here.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting. I've read. I started reading it some time back, but haven't really finished it yet. But it is interesting to see some of the differences between that book and the final result in the movie, and especially when they describe the mimics in the book. They're very, very different than the way they turn out in the movie. They're almost kind of like amphibians or crustacean type things. They talk about having like this shell, whereas they're more almost mechanical or like octopus or spider like in the movie. So it is interesting that it is that it is at least loosely based on other material, whereas I believe Groundhog Day is original material.
I believe it's actually based. The guy, it's not based on an actual like story he read, but he got the idea from a story that he read. I think it's called Christmas Over and Over, or Christmas Again, or something like that. So, but yeah, the original book, it all happens in Japan, where this time, it's happening in Europe, which I think one of the reasons why I love that movie as much as I do is because of, the whole idea of another Normandy invasion, another, they bring up Verdun, which was a World War I battlefield, and she's the angel of Verdun, and they really use, and even the name of the invasion is called Operation Downfall, which was originally the name of the operation to invade Japan before the atomic bombs were dropped. So I think they really did. They really used some of the military history and put it into the story just to kind of give you that feeling that, hey, this is a big deal. It's not just, oh yeah, we'll beat him back. It just, I don't know, it just felt more real world that way for me. And I killed the conversation.
Nice job.
You destroyed it.
Well done.
I just had a few issues with a few things. I'll bring up, see if anybody has any thoughts on. I thought the opening to Edge of Tomorrow, him getting busted down to private and put in with this squad, was a little contrived. It didn't quite make sense to me why he'd be put in a position like that. I know you have to do something like that to kickstart the story. Right. But like sending him on a mission to advertise and publicize, I don't know why you can't do that, putting him in a safe place. I'm not sure why you have to put him like straight on the beach, which just turns into this weird thing. Also, I feel like some of the conclusions they come to about the mimics feels kind of a little hand wavy. Like I'm not exactly sure how they would gather all that information. But again, if she lived over and over and over again, she may have learned, a lot of things to get, passed on,
right,
that I didn't think about at the time. But you kind of have to, paste over some cracks to get the story moving and to get into your loop and repetition. So I understand that to a certain degree. Just a few times it took me out a little bit like, well, that didn't quite make sense. Same with Groundhog Day, where he very quickly, he was a curmudgeonly sort of dickish person in the beginning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But very quickly turns into like, I'm going to try to kill myself. And we don't know obviously how much time passes, but it just felt very quick to go to this dark place. Not that I mind the darkness, but I just feel like maybe it could have been set up a little bit better?
I have some numbers for you guys at the end of the podcast about how many days actually passed for both films.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I didn't really think about it. I'd never thought about like trying to figure that out. Because you could probably figure it out from the montages in some way or another.
It's
roughly.
a little more difficult than you think.
And from the things they have to learn, and the time it takes to master certain things.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree with you, Kyle, on that. You know, I sometimes feel like, oh, the military hierarchy is just in this film. They just do not want to listen to reason.
Yeah.
You know, they don't give any kind of human responses like, oh, well, tell me more. You know, it's more or less black or white. There's no gray area with them. You know, with the general and with Bill Paxton. Like, there's no gray area. It's either you are what you are or you're not. And it's not this, well, let me tell you what's happening.
Yeah, if you live in a world where alien invasion is a thing that's happened and you've survived it and you've seen the things that are possible, it seems like people would be a little more open-minded to the crazy things that people say.
Yeah,
like,
you
maybe
like
it's possible time is repeating.
Right.
But maybe that's a commentary on modern society.
That's true.
I'm not sure. It seemed a little strange that no one would listen. And going as far as to give him the tool he needs to make contact with the Omega and then trying to arrest him immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't understand the point of that other than to have like a chase sequence.
Well, I think just to be a dick.
Yeah, but what a waste what a waste.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't buy that the general was believing him at all. He just knew that he had a crazy person in his office, and
but he knew things he should never have known.
Right. And like I said, that's also been my problem. Like, you know, there's no, well, maybe he is telling the truth. Maybe I should listen to this guy. Maybe we are going to lose tomorrow. There's none of that. It's just straight up, nope, this is the plan. We can't deviate from the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's I know people always make the joke, but you know, there is no intelligence in that military hierarchy. All right. You guys want to say anything else about writing?
I thought I guess we didn't touch on this too much, but I thought that one of the things that Edge of Tomorrow does really well, and some of this is the editing, but when I watched the first time, every time I watch it, I'm always surprised at how funny it is. And I think it's one of the reasons why it's kind of made such a comeback and kind of, it didn't do so well in the movie theater because it was one of those movies, and we talk about these a lot, these like genre bending movies that studio marketing people, I don't know what the hell's wrong with them, but they're like, they make the best movies, these movies that cross genres and play with rules, but they can't market them at all. Like it's it's not science fiction completely. So, and they just like take a shit on the desk, and it's
like the leadership of the military in the movie.
Yeah. And they just like, they don't know. Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do a science fiction comedy. And it's like, but it's a good movie. Can't you just market it on the basis of it being a good movie? Right. And I don't know, maybe some of that's the idiots that are going to the theater, not going to theater in this case. But I don't know. I was always impressed at how funny it is. And I'm amazed that the home video and streaming has done so well that they're, pushing the sequel. So I think that's incredible that even happens anymore.
It actually did really well overseas, worldwide. It did well. It was the U.S. box office. It suffered. And it's because of how it was marketed. Like, originally it was called Live, Die, Repeat. Like that's the first thing you saw. And then all of a sudden, oh no, it's Edge of Tomorrow. And actually, before we take it to a vote, I have this piece of trivia I pulled out because I figured we would talk about this at some point. And it's after the film's box office failure in the U.S., it still managed to turn a profit worldwide. Its marketing strategy was changed slightly for its DVD release. In this case, on the front of the video box, the film's tagline was emphasized heavily with the title Edge of Tomorrow in small text at the very bottom of the case. Mm-hmm. As a result of the packaging, it gives the illusion that the film's title is Live, Die, Repeat. Warner Brothers maintained that the title of the film had not been changed and that Live, Die, Repeat was only a tagline. So it still appears in front of Edge of Tomorrow, not just on the cover, but on the spine of the packaging and even on discs. The rental company Redbox has the film listed under the letter L in its kiosks, and all online retailers have the digital streaming version titled Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow.
Now, I'm sorry, you were done? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I was done.
So I was reading an interview with Doug Liman, and he wanted Live, Die, Repeat, and the studio's like, that's stupid. We're going to call it Edge of Tomorrow. And then when it failed, they went back to him and like, okay, you were right. We'll call it Live, Die, Repeat. And so they're actually in the process of formally changing the names. And when Live, Die, Repeat and Repeat comes out, the sequel, Edge of Tomorrow is going to get scrubbed from like IMDb and Wikipedia, and they're going to go in and completely erase that Edge of Tomorrow ever existed.
Okay,
and
I'm totally good with that. It's just pick one.
Right. Yeah. That it doesn't help that they're confusing it that way. And I don't know. I don't feel like Live, Die, Repeat is all that much better of a name. But you know, having both and kind of like doing this trickery where you're switching it is not. I can't imagine that helps.
Right.
No.
With you know, rentals and sales, DVD sales. Because if I'm looking for Edge of Tomorrow and I can't find it, then I guess I won't buy it or rent it. I find it a little bit silly, but
well, and I feel like, I mean, if you're looking at the two titles, Edge of Tomorrow sounds like a Robert Redford, Meryl Streep movie, and I think, and Live, Die, Repeat, I think almost kind of, you know, the absurdity of what is happening in this movie. I think Live, Die, Repeat covers, you know, displays that a lot better. So, I watched it with my son Harvey the other day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Live, Die, Repeat is a way better title for this." And so yeah, it was, you know, I think I'm looking forward to them changing it. I don't know.
Yeah, Edge of Tomorrow sounds like a name come up with by a committee sitting around a table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what do we call a science fiction movie?
Yeah. And it's
just terrible.
It's not. I mean, I don't think I think it's a bad title. I think it's very representative about part of what that movie is about. But
yeah,
it does sound overly dramatic and serious, and it's not a dramatic, serious movie. It's a very fun, almost silly movie. So,
agreed. All right, let's put it to a vote. Kyle.
You know, just for the simplicity, and also it attempts to do a little bit less, but I'm going to give it to Groundhog Day for feeling a little bit more cohesive, not having so many of those things that kind of pull me out of it. But man, it's close. I love both these movies, but I'm going to vote for Groundhog Day.
All right. Gabe.
Yeah, I like these. I like both of these movies a lot too, and it's hard because they are both pretty well written. I'm going to go with Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat, or whatever you want to call it.
All you need is kill.
All you need is kill. Yeah, well, it has a name. We just don't know which one to go by. Yeah,
Tom.
Yeah, for story, I'm gonna give it to Groundhog Day because. I mean, I won't say they did it first. There are other movies that did time loops, but I don't know. It's amazing that Groundhog Day hasn't like disappeared into the annals of 80s comedies, and it's enduring. I mean, people seek it out on February 2nd and watch it because it's so well done. And I think part of that is a really compelling story that changes it up just enough. But it's a close one for me too.
Well, you're talking like was it AMC? I think AMC was playing it all day long. On Groundhog
Were they?
Day. Yeah.
See, and that's to be expected. I mean, that's
right.
You know how easy it is for this movie to have just like disappeared and no one had ever heard of it, like Monster Squad or something like that. It's amazing that everybody knows about it and it's hung on.
Well, it's on all of these, you know, top 100 lists, top 10 lists, top. You know, it has an incredible longevity.
Yeah.
I am going to. This one's difficult for me, just like you guys as well. I really, really, really love some of the ideas in Edge of Tomorrow. I really enjoy the story arc, though, of Groundhog Day. He, let's face it, he is a complete kind of utter asshole starting out and ends up being this loving, caring person. Oh, man. I think I'm going to give it to Edge of Tomorrow. And I'll just be done with it. So, trivia. This is going to be weird since I'm voting as well. When Hiroshi Sakuzaka wrote the novel, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, Hiroshi.
Bless you.
Thank you. He got the idea from video gaming and resetting it over and over until finding the winning strategy, which is kind of a neat way of thinking about it. The first writer on the film, Dante Harper, who did not receive final credit, sold his spec script to Warner Brothers in 2010 for over $1 million.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. For Groundhog Day, in the original version of the script by Danny Rubin, Phil Connors was already trapped inside Groundhog Day at the start of the story. We joined him on a typical day with the audience wondering how he knew everything that was going to happen. Harold Ramis promised not to change the aspect of the script, but ultimately decided to do so in the end.
That would have been an interesting way to approach it. Like, how is this guy so like omniscient? And,
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
Both of these films they're very different in many ways, but somehow they come around to being very similar. And I think the acting in both of these is pretty good. I mean, how can you not like Bill Murray? I mean, I don't know that actually, at first I was like, I didn't think his acting was all that good. But then as the story progressed and his character changed and we got into different situations, I found that he was more versatile than I expected him to be. And so I really enjoyed him in that. And on the Edge of Tomorrow side, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Tom Cruise's personal choices necessarily, but I think he's a fantastic actor. I like watching him on screen. I don't know that he has a lot of range, but there's something I enjoy about him in these films, and he is able to portray a variety of different emotions pretty effectively, for being kind of often what you would consider a little bit of a kind of an action hero, a little bit.
Right.
But I think of some of his other roles too, like Vanilla Sky, or things where he's not relying on his good looks and his smart alecky nature necessarily. His cockiness, like Top Gun or something, he has branched out into other roles where he doesn't rely on those things. He relies on his actual ability to act. And so I kind of like him. I think he's pretty good. I think I was a little disappointed with, is it Andy McDowell? Or is that?
Yeah. Andy.
Yeah. She's cute and charming, but I didn't find her to be all that engaging as, an actress. I was a little bit disappointed with her. I think we need to see more Chris Elliott. What happened?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know. He's not.
Really?
I think he's funny, but
I like Chris Elliott too.
But he's not a good actor. But I think he's funny. I think in certain roles he fits the bill. I always wondered where he went.
I loved his TV show.
Yeah.
On
Eagle
Fox.
Heart?
No, the one before that.
He had it wasn't it called the Chris Elliott Show or something?
No, his dad was on it with him.
Mm-hmm,
I'll hit the Google.
But anyway, I think the acting in both of these is pretty decent. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Get a Life.
What?
That was the name of the show.
Oh, yeah, that's the name of the show.
Did you like that?
Yeah, the
that
timing
was
of that
good.
was very nice.
Thank you very much.
So is this the first Bill Murray movie where he's kind of playing like how do I want to say it? At times he has like a pathos to him. Like he's not funny. He's not just the funny, goofy, doing voices, doing characters.
No.
he's genuinely emoting and going through a gamut of emotions. And
go on.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm really not familiar. So
he was in Razor's Edge in '84, which was several years before this, and that's a drama. So I mean, he had tried it earlier, but I think this was the first one that was kind of widely accepted and pushed him towards lost in translation territory.
Because at times he's not what you expect Bill Murray to be now, especially back then. Now you're more familiar with kind of dramatic, actor in the forefront, Bill Murray. But this felt a little shocking because I'm thinking of Caddyshack, Saturday Night Live. And there are times in this movie that he is obviously very distressed and very depressed. And I know that he had a lot of personal issues around the time of the filming of this movie. And he and Harold Ramis actually had a huge falling out around this movie. And some of the stories I read about Bill Murray at this time was just like he seemed impossible to work with. But I think maybe that helps his performance in those when he's being an asshole or when he's being depressed. He genuinely seems fed up and like he doesn't want to be there. How much of that is just him being him and or really trying to put on a performance? I wonder. Edge of Tomorrow has a lot of very quality actors in it, and I feel like it has a better supporting cast and maybe more memorable characters. Emily Blunt, who I think is gorgeous and a good actor, and is good in this role, but also Bill Pullman. Or no, Bill Paxton. Sorry. Wait, yeah, that's right. God damn it. That's my I know. That's my Harry Dean Stanton and Dean Stockwell thing going on in this movie. But he's chewing the scenery. He loves being that drill sergeant, and I think he's really good at it. Brendan Gleeson doing not a typical what I think of like a Brendan Gleeson performance. I always think of him as from In Bruges. But yeah, lots of really good actors. Yeah, I think Groundhog Day is let down a little bit by having Andy McDowell be the romantic lead. It's not really, I don't know. It's hard to buy it. Chris Elliott, funny. Not sure what he's doing there. Harold Ramis in his cameo as a doctor who very comically squints at the x-rays. I was like, really? That's your gag? Okay. But the rest of the film, other than Brian Doyle Murray, who's in everything Bill Murray does, kind of like a veritable who's that of actors, with the exception of Stephen Tobolowsky, who is amazing and gives me so much joy as Ned Ryerson.
Oh, Ned Ryerson is awesome.
One of the great things about Groundhog Day is Edge of Tomorrow gets some of its tricks by showing the same scene from a different angle. Groundhog Day usually shows the same scene done again from the same angle, same camera shot, etc. And it takes, that's a skilled acting performance to get the same thing where it doesn't take you out of it. And Bill Murray is great at going through the stages of this seems familiar to, okay, I'm going to fuck with this guy, to I'm just going to knock him out. Or, he's good at going through those. But I thought Stephen Tobolowsky was amazing as Ned Ryerson. It was great.
Well, it was great because the whole, when he grabs him and says, I'm so lonely. Wait, can you call it? That was all improv. That wasn't
it was good.
That was all improv.
Good on Tobolowsky for not breaking, because I don't know. I would have held up under that.
Yeah. Yep.
But shit. Yeah, it was funny.
I like. I agree with Gabe. I like Tom Cruise. I mean, I know some people have problems with like his personal, like judging his movies based on what he does in his personal life. I don't really give a shit. And I look forward to Tom Cruise movies too. I love what he's been doing with Mission Impossible. I can't believe there are made 6 of them, which is I never would have thought that would happen. So I think. I think he really brings a lot to it. I really do think that this category really comes down to Andy McDowell versus Emily Blunt, and it's really no contest, So
there is no contest there.
Yeah. So, damn you, John Krasinski. So, yeah.
I feel
that's insane, by the way. That's absolutely insane.
It's funny you bring that up because I feel bad for thinking she's so hot because I watch The Office so much and I love John Krasinski, and I'm like, I feel so bad that I would like to make out with your wife. and they both seem like such nice people, you know.
Yeah.
Everything that Amanda reads a lot of entertainment news, and everything that she tells me about those two is pretty great. But Andy McDowell, she's cute, but God, there's just something missing. There was no chemistry. Like, even towards the end, I just felt there was no chemistry between her and Bill Murray.
Do you think some of that is because of maybe the way Bill was acting around other actors or during the filming of the movie? Because she seems genuinely annoyed with him.
Right.
Like, I can't tell if she's acting.
Right.
And maybe that's just her being a good actress.
Well, because he was
sometimes she looks at him like she hates his guts.
Right. Well, he was going through a divorce at that time. If I remember right. And, but man, like I think she's very pretty, and I like her in some of the other films that I've seen her in, but not, nothing like memorable, except for Magic Mike XXL. And I'm kidding. I've just been looking.
She in that movie?
Apparently. But, yeah, like, with Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise, there was this master and student almost type of mentality. And I just felt like the two of them were having so much fun making this movie. And this was Emily Blunt's first, like, big budget action film. She had never done anything like that before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have Tom Cruise, who, let's face it, is a great actor. And to be a great actor, sometimes you got to be really crazy. And Tom is maybe a little eccentric. Some would call him crazy. But I'm in the Tom boat with this one. I like going to his movies. I enjoy seeing Tom Cruise up there running because he's always got to run. In whatever movie
and swimming.
he's always got to run. And
riding a motorcycle.
Right, riding a motorcycle. Which he didn't. No, yeah, he did do in this movie.
Yeah, he did. And he's always got to swim too. There has to be something where he falls in an impossible pool of water.
Right. But for me, I agree with you guys. It comes down to Emily Blunt versus Andy McDowell, but you could almost take it as a Bill Paxton versus Stephen Tobolowsky. And Bill Paxton, Kyle, you said it best. He's just eating the scenery. He is just loving this character, Master Sergeant Farrell. And he is just so into that character. And it's brilliant. And you just love watching him do it because he's having the time of his life. And you can tell that. At first, I wanted to point out the cruel sergeant, the one that kicks him. And, just hand him... For the longest time, I thought that was, now I can't remember his name for life.
Gregory Hines.
No, not
Morgan Freeman.
No, not Morgan Freeman. Wow. Yeah, just. I thought it was Will Smith. No, I'm
Denzel Washington.
Yes,
of course.
No, don't bring that up.
That's why Gabe is voting for Groundhog Day all the time.
Yeah, now.
I don't want to.
She would tell Ejiofor?
No, God. I wish I would have had this
to show off.
Michael T. Williamson.
Yeah, just keep going through. Just keep going.
Bokeem Woodbine.
Jordan Peele.
Yes,
Michael
that
Keegan
was
Key
it.
or whatever his name is.
Oh my God, I can't find his name. God bless it. He played. I am totally drawing a blank.
This is great.
It's not
Clint Eastwood.
Yes. He was. It was a horror movie series.
Candyman. You're thinking of the guy who played Candyman.
Yeah, Candyman.
And I don't remember his name.
Oh, that's it.
But yeah, that's who you're thinking of.
Candyman. Oh my God, are you? Yeah, Tony Todd. Tony Todd.
Yeah.
I kept thinking it was Tony Todd, but it's not. The gentleman's name is Terrence Maynard. But I kept thinking it was Tony Todd every time I saw it. And today when I looked it up, I was just totally flabbergasted. I'm like, that's not right. They've got the wrong guy on here. But
on IMDb, you don't say.
Yeah. But it's definitely not Tony Todd. But I think it comes down to Andy McDowell versus Emily Blunt and Stephen Tobolowsky versus Bill Paxton. I think that's where you go, because Bill Murray is such a great asshole, right? Like you want him to be the prick in your film because he's really good at it. And he's not like the mean prick. He's just kind of the prick that makes you laugh, and he walks away and you're like, wait, that guy's a prick, after you're sitting there laughing. And, Tom Cruise, he's got the charisma and he's got the running and the biking and the swimming going on. So yeah, I think for me, it comes down to those two verses on this. So let's put it to a vote. Tom.
I'm gonna go with Tom Cruise because I think he's kind of like the anti Will Smith. Like when I go to his movies, I know they're gonna be good. Whereas like Will Smith, I know they're gonna be bad.
It's kind of a gamble.
There's no gamble with Will Smith. It's always a bad movie. I don't know who reads the scripts, but he needs to be fired because.
Really?
When was the last time Will Smith made a good movie?
Okay, I got to look it up now.
Bright just came out. Wasn't that great?
I haven't heard very good things about that.
No, I've heard it's not
bad
good.
things with that too. So anyway, sorry. That was just my attempt to knock Will Smith, which is another square on my bingo card.
Shit, I got this DJ Jazzy Jeff square I'm never going to cross off. Well, I just did. Never mind.
No. Rule 14. Rule 14A, you can't do that.
Let's see. Shit. Bright, Collateral Beauty, Suicide Squad, Concussion. Concussion was actually pretty good.
No, it was not.
No?
It was God, no. They treated the NFL with kid gloves. They were literally killing
them better.
They should have fucking kicked their asses. Still waiting for a good one.
Focus, Winter's Tale, Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. Oh, yeah.
He really doesn't get much credit for that. And it's not as good as the original.
Oh, boy. After Earth, Men in Black 3, 7 Pounds, Hancock, I Am Legend. I kind of liked Hancock. I enjoyed that. Pursuit of Happiness.
Meh.
Hitch. Club Oscar. Shark Tale. All right. I liked iRobot.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, but is it good?
That's his thing.
Bad Boys 2. Men in Black 2.
Okay, I think Bad Boys 2 was probably the last movie in there I liked.
And that was 2003.
2003, 14 years. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do believe his agent needs to be fired.
Okay. I agree with you, Tom.
But
All
he's
right.
in Aladdin. He's a live action genie, so fingers crossed.
All right.
Hoping Guy Ritchie breaks his. Oh God, it's not gonna work.
Wait, hold on. This is the first time hearing about this. Guy Ritchie is going to direct a live action Aladdin with Will Smith as the genie.
Yes, he is.
Holy shit! I have not.
That should be a bingo card.
No,
just saying that combination of names.
That's actually.
It's funny you bring that up, Gabe. But I have that on my card.
Awesome.
I'm playing movie Mad Libs.
No shit.
Yeah, no kidding. That's about right.
Harvey Weinstein's last
director that was once married to Madonna.
Yeah, was just pick random shit out of one of those bingo machines.
Yeah,
Jesus, that's
is that
awkward.
how they make movies nowadays? They just throw a bunch of names in.
It seems like
pull
it's
them out.
Well, no, they
like
throw
a random name generator.
They throw
Will
in
Smith.
movies that have already been made, and then just choose one to remake.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, the titles are all existing movies, but then they just mix up the actors and directors and all that jazz.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm writing that down.
I think we're going back to voting.
We're off the rails.
Kyle.
I'm going to vote for the movie whose actors I think could kick the other actor's ass, and that would be Edge of Tomorrow. Probably because they're mostly 30 years younger than the other group.
Right.
But because I like to see Emily Blunt punch Andy McDowell in her yellow teeth.
I noticed that about all their teeth.
All of their teeth are yellow. What's up with that?
I'm wondering.
Smoking?
Yeah,
Probably.
maybe more smoking.
Cocaine.
Probably not a lot of teeth whitening.
Yeah,
oh, now everyone's
teeth technology was not yet perfected.
And its primitive stages.
And plus, it could have been the coloring.
Does Ted Turner still colorize movies? Can he go back and put white teeth in old movies? But leave the rest of it untouched? It would look ridiculous.
Maybe it was just the film stock at the time. You couldn't get bright white on the film stock.
Dear Mr. Turner.
I was terrified by the teeth in Apocalypse Now. They're so bright in the jungle backdrop.
Today's episode of Cinesmack is brought to you by Crest White Strips Dental Whitening Kit. Whose 5 years is enough set in stains.
I wish we had Crest money.
Oh yeah.
I wish we had. Yeah, we need some
Fucking
sponsors.
this show's brought to you by Pepsodent. Just deal with it.
Gabe.
Oh, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think the clear choice on this category is Edge of Tomorrow.
All right. And I'm gonna follow suit with you guys. Andy McDowell just ruins it for me.
Tom Cruise just makes fun movies. They're fun.
He does. Yeah. Well, except for The Mummy. Has anyone seen The Mummy?
Well,
No, I heard bad things, but I never saw it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. So,
by definition, most people have not seen The Mummy. It did very poorly.
Yeah, it did. Harold Ramis considered Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and John Travolta for the role of Phil Connors, but he considered them as far too nice, quote unquote, compared to Bill Murray. So I don't know if that's a plus or a minus. You know,
Steve Martin can be a good asshole when he wants to.
Yeah, Steve Martin would have been good.
Yeah.
And who was?
Yeah, he would have been funny.
Chevy
John
Chase.
Travolta. Chevy Chase would have been good too, but John Travolta would have made this movie disappear Monster Squad.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
All right. While filming the car chase scene, which includes a minivan, Emily Blunt was instructed to drive fast and then to take a right-hand turn so that the van would shake. However, Blunt missed her mark and she drove the car into a tree. She later said that it was both hilarious and terrifying as she almost killed Tom Cruise, who was in the passenger seat, but both of them started laughing after the incident.
Jesus.
So, yeah. And that's another reason why I enjoy watching Tom Cruise films is he wants to do his own stunts. And it could be because he's travel size, so he doesn't take up a lot of space.
Excuse me. You think that's funny? You think that's funny, Sasquatch? I don't do my own stunts. I'm travel size.
That's true. Maybe you should try your own stunts.
It's really uncomfortable in the overhead bin. Thank you very much. Asshole.
But I think that's another reason why I like going, because I'm like, hey, look, it's Tom Cruise. Where, you know, when Bill Murray jumped off the bell tower, you could definitely tell that wasn't Bill Murray.
Well, stunt technology's come along, and now they'd put Bill Murray's face on that guy,
right, with whiter teeth.
But back in the 80s, it was just like, get a guy roughly Bill Murray shape,
right,
and have him put a hand in front of his face and jump off this damn building. Just don't have any other options.
All right, let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
I think this is actually a pretty easy category. I think Doug Liman is a 21st century action film director. I think he does a really, really great job. He has made a lot of my favorite action movies. And didn't we do a Doug Liman movie last month, or was that the month before?
Month before.
Go.
Month before he did Go.
Yes.
He makes fun action movies, and he really gets the camera in there, and the special effects, I think, in Edge of Tomorrow are fantastic. And I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but the design of the aliens is absolutely stellar. I mean, we just kind of have like an idea of what aliens in movies look like, and we're sitting down, and when I was watching with my son, he said before it started, he's like, hang on, before it starts, what are the aliens like? And I'm like, you've never seen anything like this your entire life. Yes. They are terrifying, and you can totally imagine these things completely wiping us out without breaking a sweat. And they're definitely like highly evolved creatures. And I don't know who came up with it and how they move and how they attack, and it's really, really well done. I think the directing on Groundhog Day is good, but I don't think that's. I really think the strength of Groundhog Day is in its story. And I don't know if another director, I don't really think that the directing made the big difference in Groundhog Day. I think that was really more the acting and directing, or the writing and acting. So, but yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow is one of those movies where I really feel like nearly all the special effects are very seamless. and they don't try too hard. There's never a, hey, look at this, because the aliens move so fast, you never can get a real good look at them for the most part. But they do such a good job of putting the special effects in without screaming, look at me, and so you're like, that doesn't look very good, like the last 30 minutes of Wonder Woman, where it's like they were like, the special effects guys were trying to show off. It's like, no, concentrate on the story, let the special effects drive the story. And I think that's what Edge of Tomorrow does really, really well.
All right, I got to derail the conversation real quick since you brought up since you brought up Wonder Woman. I'm sorry. I was reading an article and saw some side-by-side comparisons, but this is Justice League. They had to remove Henry Cavill's mustache in some of the reshoots, right? And you can really tell. Someone took a $500 computer and some software and did a better job than what Warner Brothers did.
Really?
Yes, the side-by-sides. I mean, it's like... You would say the one that was the $500 computer was actually the one Warner Brothers would have spent millions on, but it wasn't. And it's really, really funny. I just read the article before we got on to record. So anyway, going back. Sorry, Tom. Are you done?
No. Yes. No, I'm not done. Which, by the way, the Deadpool 2 trailer came out today.
Oh, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, they hit Superman where it hurts. So anyway, special effects were really fantastic, and then even just the car chase scenes that are quite plentiful, and the beach scenes are, those scenes are huge,
stunning.
Yeah.
And then just like I said, special effects are really, really well, and I'm going to give Doug Liman the credit because this is where we talk about those things. So,
right.
Anyway.
I gotta give him props for using actual suits. Like those suits weighed 80 pounds, and when they loaded them up with the guns and everything else, they were like around 100 pounds that they were lugging around on themselves. And I just think that's impressive. They didn't want to go CGI, and Tom Cruise was the one that pushed them towards not using CGI for the suits.
And they look great. I think
they look fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to add. I think Tom absolutely nailed my thoughts. The word terrifying was exactly what I was going to say about the aliens. They're so fast and frantic and aggressive that it's shocking. They're shocking killing machines. The way they burrow and ambush and attack, it's
like being at a Cher concert.
The movies have that in common. They both have a Cher element to them. But, just absolutely terrifying. And the beach landing, the action scenes, the battle scenes. Doug Liman manages to get you to laugh at a man being shot in the head, at a man breaking his back, at a man breaking his leg, people getting killed all the time. You laugh because the acting is good, the tone is right. It preps you for it. It delivers, and it counts. If someone played that wrong, you could get the totally opposite emotion out of them if you're not careful with things like that. And one of the funniest scenes is the first time he tries to roll underneath that truck.
Yeah,
and gets smashed. And Bill Paxton's reaction is fantastic. And I think that if you don't set that up correctly, that doesn't play. Right. You've got to earn that, and the tone of your movie has to support that.
Right. It's really difficult for me to call it simply because I want to look at their library real quick. But I totally agree with the beach scenes. I loved how the aliens, even when they were standing still, they weren't. They were kind of vibrating really weird.
Yeah.
And I love that effect. Like I
said, they're manic.
Right. And, some use of practical effects, a lot of that on the beach and, using the car chase, like Tom said, it's really well cut. It's really well shot that way. I love, we can put editing into this, right?
This is where it goes.
The editing in that is just brilliant. When I brought up the whole montage thing, they did a really good job of, the maggot shot, maggot, shot, maggot,
Yeah.
shot. And I believe Doug Liman and Tom Cruise, I was reading in all the trivia I was researching, they came out and said they wanted his deaths to be horrific yet funny. Like they wanted to put that little twist where you're not just gasping at what you saw. Instead, you're laughing at what you see. You know, it's the guy getting his back broke. No, I'm okay. I can feel my toes still, you know, bang.
Yeah.
It's just really well done. But real quick, I want to go through their library, Gabe, before you go. You have Harold Ramis, rest in peace, Harold. Caddyshack was his first film. National Lampoon's Vacation, Club Paradise, Groundhog Day, Stewart Saves His Family, Multiplicity, which I think is very underrated. And yet again, doesn't it have Andie MacDowell in it? Isn't she the wife?
Yeah, I think she is.
Analyze This, not very good. Bedazzled, I like Bedazzled. Analyze
That's
that.
the one with Brendan Fraser and
Yes.
Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh, Elizabeth
I like that
Hurley.
movie.
Yeah. Analyze That, The Ice Harvest alternate endings. Oh, it's a video short. Atlanta, Year One, which was awful.
Oh, I saw that in the theater.
2, 3, and he directed 4 episodes of The Office, and he did probably my favorite episode of The Office, which was Safety Training, which is when Dwight starts the fire, and they're all trying to get out. I don't know if you guys, but my favorite line from The Office comes from that episode, which is, "Dwight, you ignorant slut," and which we used to use, you know, when we were talking to each other on the show. You know, Harold Ramis has got a pretty nice library of films. There's some misses, there's some hits. Doug Liman, on the other hand, Getting In, Swingers, which I still enjoy, Go, which we talked about in December. Indy is Great, which was a short. The Bourne Identity, which Tom and I can talk Bourne movies all day long. He did The O.C., which I didn't know, a couple episodes of that. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which I kind of like and I kind of don't. There's some things that bother me about that. Jumper, which had the young Anakin Skywalker in it, Hayden Christensen.
God.
Oh, shoot. I just lost my... There we go. Jumper, Fair Game, Edge of Tomorrow, which I'm going to say might be one of his best movies that he's done. The Wall, which I never watched, and then American Made, which I just watched in November, and I really enjoyed that. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Not yet.
But once again, that has Tom Cruise in it. And it's
Him and Tom Cruise must be buddies.
They could be. So yeah, you know, unfortunately, Harold Ramis passed away, and he doesn't have anything coming out. But it looks like Doug Liman has a few: Luna Park, Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat, which I can't wait for. Impulse, Attica, and Chaos Walking. You know, but these are post-production and pre-production, all these, and then announced. Oh yeah, sorry, Gabe. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. You guys have covered a lot of it, and my sentiments are pretty much the same. We talked about it early on, how these movies like this would rely naturally on the use of montages. And, so immediately you realize how important the editing is going to be in these films. And, both do a suitable job. I mean, Groundhog Day, I didn't have any problems with the editing necessarily, but the editing in Edge of Tomorrow is just over the top fantastic. And Kyle kind of hit on it earlier when he said that it's under 2 hours. And I attribute a lot of that to the writing and filming, but a lot of that really, really comes down to the editing phase, where you have to make tough decisions and say, okay, what do we need to keep and what do we need to get rid of, and how do we make this, tight and concise and not lose the story, not lose our audience and that kind of thing. And they just do that fantastically well. in Edge of Tomorrow. It's. I was watching it again last night. I've seen it a handful of times. I didn't really need to watch it again, but I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take this opportunity because I love it so much. And I was really struck with the editing, how the pacing of it, and how the editing. It's just so to hit those those comic points in the film too. Like the editing makes the comedy sometimes.
The timing, yeah.
Now there's one part that, okay, we can talk about this maybe in overall. I kind of wanted to talk about, obviously we need to talk about some of the time travel paradox type things and all that jazz. At some point we will probably get into it, but there was one edit that stood out to me, which is very funny. But it kind of stood out to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I wanted to hear what you guys thought. And it was the one where Tom Cruise tries to break away from the PT group, and he rolls in front of that car and gets run over. Mm-hmm. And it's really funny. But the weird part about that is it differs a little bit from some of the other parts of the movie, in that when he dies, it doesn't automatically just instantaneously reset to him at the beginning. We get a brief moment of the world after he's died to see Bill Paxton's reaction to that, which is very funny.
He's not dead yet.
Yeah,
well, maybe he's not.
He must not be.
Well, that's the only explanation. But I thought it was a little bit weird because it wasn't like the others. Because the assumption was that the world, including everyone else in it, Tom Cruise and everyone else in it, the world gets reset at the moment that he dies. So maybe that's the explanation, is that he wasn't quite dead yet.
Right.
He lived long enough for us to get that funny part, And I enjoy that part. I think it's really funny. But it struck me this time when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's a little different than a lot of the other edits. Because when he dies, I mean, it cuts.
It does.
Almost every time he dies, you're back to the beginning, or you're back to, you realize that he's repeating this again, And you don't get to see the world after he dies.
Now,
because it technically doesn't exist. But anyway,
right.
I do like the choice, though, in Groundhog Day, not to say why he keeps repeating. Like, you kind of have to sit there and figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You're kind of like, okay, he has to grow as a person. Like, that's eventually at the end, he has to start caring for others instead of himself. Because he starts out, I love it when he takes the money from the back of the truck, and he shows up in the cowboy outfit, the lady in the maid outfit. It's just hilarious, I think I don't know why, but I always feel that it kind of hits me right in my chest when he's trying to save the homeless guy's life.
Yeah.
He keeps trying to do that. That just kind of hits home for me.
Over.
Yeah, and I don't know why. It just hits me. But I think there's some pretty good editing that in Groundhog Day. Sorry. I think there's some great editing in Groundhog Day, but Edge of Tomorrow uses it so much better. It becomes a device itself, and not to say that Groundhog Day was trying to live up to the Edge of Tomorrow cutting. It was just a totally different time and totally different pace. But
yeah, and it was a different type of story altogether.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It wasn't an action movie,
And Kyle said it best. We really are kind of talking about two romances. Bill Murray falls for Andy McDowell, and Tom Cruise is towards the end is not wanting Emily Blunt to go with him. He's not wanting to see her die again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that didn't hit me until I rewatched it. I didn't really realize that, and maybe I did, and I just had forgotten about it. But really, coming down to it, it is kind of a love story as well. But,
well, she touches on it a little bit too when she's talking about the person she saw die over and over again.
Right.
That because you spend so much time with this person that you care about and you can't stop them from dying, it like breaks you. It just.
Right.
And Bill Murray had a bit of it with the old man too. And
right.
you can't accept that you can't stop this from happening, and you have to see it and deal with it over and over and over again.
And I did enjoy seeing Bill Murray, steadily better himself. Instead of doing it for selfish reasons, like take a woman to bed or make some money or. And let's be honest, that's something we would all do. If we knew we were just going to be repeating the same day, we would go through those. And first we would start with those selfish acts. And then when we start getting bored of it and start being scared of it, we would probably try to kill ourselves. And then, okay, well, I'm stuck here. I might as well make the best of it type of thing,
Don't forget about the section where it's just about sex. There's a middle part in there where it's selfish and then sex, and that becomes unfulfilling, and then you go to suicide.
Right.
And then you start helping others.
Right. And I just found it funny. The more I thought about it, the more the film meant something different to me than when I originally watched it, however many years ago. And I don't know. I just think there's something to be said about that, where they don't say what's going on. You just kind of have to come to it yourself. Where I do enjoy the fact that Edge of Tomorrow is a science fiction film, but they explain to you, they're like, look, this is the reason why he can do it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just two totally different films, which is what this podcast is about. But it's amazing the similarities between the two films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. When it comes down to the impact of that kind of ability or curse or whatever you want to call it, the impact on people and their psyche and their character and that kind of thing. It's very, very similar. Takes on that impact.
All right.
And another thing about these kinds of movies, we talked about editing, but shot choices are also important in these movies, especially. One thing you could think of if you were going to make a movie like this, where the same thing, the same day repeated over and over with, basically to a certain degree, just minor changes. Well, you could go and get it from a production standpoint. You could go, oh, this could be great. We could do just a handful of setups,
right,
and just go through it over and over and over again with the same setups and the same actors and that kind of thing, and save time and money from a production standpoint. And on one hand, it would make sense if you did that, and to a certain degree, they do that a little bit. I think a little bit more in Groundhog Day than in Edge of Tomorrow. But even so, I was expecting that a little bit more. I mean, I've seen these both, but I hadn't thought about it. I wasn't thinking about it when the first time I saw them. I was expecting a little bit more, but I was actually kind of surprised at how much they actually varied over time. And it's interesting. It's interesting to me how they can change the angle of a shot or change it a little bit, but you still know exactly where you are and what's going on, because and I think the key to that is establishing it strongly up front. And one of the iconic shots in Groundhog Day is the alarm clock, of course, flipping over to 6 a.m. And we see that over and over and over. But eventually we do see that from different angles.
Right.
And but we still know exactly what that means. And the same with Tom Cruise waking up on the tarmac on that pile of duffel bags or whatever. We see that how many times in the movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's different. It's different each time. Sometimes based on the angle or based on what happened. It's a little bit of a Sergei Eisenstein kind of montage theory kind of thing. He could look exactly the same laying on that pile of duffel bags, but it has a different meaning based on what happened just before it. So each time we see that, it has a different feeling. It has a different meaning because of what we saw happen just before it.
Right.
So I don't know. That gets back into the editing a little bit, but I think shot choices are interesting in both of these films because it could just simply be one setup over and over and over again, which could work, but might get kind of boring.
Well,
You know?
and here's the thing: try being the script supervisor on one of these films. Imagine
Jesus.
the amount of
Yeah, Jesus.
notes that you would
And the
have.
continuity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible, to be able to pull all that off. But if you think about it, okay, let's do this take and let's do, let's take the whole Ned and Phil on the street. Okay, now this time let's go ahead and here's the thing, if you watch, people are not in the same place every time, or the cars aren't in the same place, but those they keep hitting they're not exact on their marks. No one's a robot, but they do it so well, and they're like, okay, on this take you're gonna punch him, or on this take you're gonna keep walking with him, on this one you're gonna ad lib something, and just think you could do that scene over and over and over and just give him all these different ways of doing it. So it does make sense. It makes sense in a production standpoint. But one thing that I'm amazed at is the fact of all of the, Groundhog Day's story is a lot simpler than Edge of Tomorrow, where Edge of Tomorrow, like Tom said, that beach scene is total chaos. And
Yeah.
you have to keep track of all that's going on. Okay, well, in this scene, they're supposed to be doing this. The helicopter flies over, but it misses. This explosion goes off, and that's amazing to me. It's just got to be. It's got to be pages and pages and pages of notes.
Well, and even simple things in that scene, I think the first time Tom Cruise falls to the earth from the chopper thing, the mask on his helmet comes off.
Right.
It breaks off when he hits the ground because he kind of almost lands face first, and then a subsequent time he hits hard, but the face mask is still on, and you have to be thinking about that. Like you can't borrow a shot from the previous one where the face mask is off because the next time it's on.
Right.
Well, and then later on he just forgoes the helmet altogether.
Right.
And so there's shots from that same sequence where he's there in the same moment in time, basically, but he's not wearing a helmet at all, and so it just amazing attention to detail.
Yes.
And just props to the continuity folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are probably continuity errors. If you look at it, if you really studied it, you could probably find them,
Right.
but they're not glaringly obvious. I can tell you that.
No.
I'm not going to seek them out either. I'm not going to hop on the Goofs page on IMDb. I enjoy these movies so much that if I see them, it will, they'll be glaring and they'll run the movie after that.
Then you'll just keep looking for it. Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's stupid crap too. That's not, they post the stupidest stuff sometimes in continuity errors. So
Trust
Right.
me. Yes, I know. I would like to say before we go to the vote, I would like to see Doug Liman do more of these action films. And I know he's going to do Live, Die, Repeat, but he's got a really good eye for it, and also sticking with the story and making you care about the characters. So I'd really like to see him take over the Transformers franchise. But that's a discussion for another day. Let's go ahead and put it to a vote. Let's start with Tom.
is this acting or overall?
This is direct.
Or directing. So obviously Doug Liman. Yeah.
All right. Kyle?
I'm actually going to go against the grain, and for Harold Ramis managing to get this movie made with all the difficulties that he had to do, and managing to get these shots without the help of all the fancy editing and making things repeat, and doing this at a time when the technology wasn't probably helping you do that very much. I'll give it to Groundhog Day.
All right. Gabe?
Yeah, good. I like this. I think I'm going to have to go hands down for Edge of Tomorrow and Doug Liman.
All right. Yeah, I have to go with Edge of Tomorrow. I just have to. Not saying that Groundhog Day is a bad movie, just Edge of Tomorrow, I don't know, I seem to enjoy a little bit more. And speaking of Edge of Tomorrow, Doug Liman wanted to do the film because it showed a role that Tom Cruise hadn't done yet, aka someone very bad at what they do. And he liked the film because he got to reshoot the same scenes until he got them right. Which, if you look at it that way, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Harold Ramis was surprised to find that this film was attracting a lot of attention from various religious groups, meditative gurus, and other parties that were into metaphysics. Ramis was particularly surprised as he was expecting a backlash against him. So instead of a backlash, he was actually getting people that were wanting to know more, what the story was behind it, or, tried to put their own beliefs behind it. And,
I read that. Well, I looked online that some Buddhist groups or other groups that are big into reincarnation kind of use this movie or the ideas behind this movie to show how a soul has to reincarnate over and over and over again until it grows and moves on to a higher state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of, we can talk about that in overall, but that's definitely what it feels like.
Right. All right. Well, speaking of overall, let's do it.
Let's do it. That's a good segue.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we don't have to talk about this now, but one thing I did want to mention in overall is the music. I thought the music for Edge of Tomorrow is fantastic. And actually, it was so weird watching it again because I sometimes listen to the soundtrack while I'm working. It's a little intense sometimes for sitting in a chair and working on a website. But I love the music in Edge of Tomorrow. I think the soundtrack is fantastic. I didn't care much for the music in Groundhog Day. It worked. There was, the one song, of course, I Got You, Babe, or whatever, that becomes iconic because of the way they use it. But overall, I didn't really feel like the music in Groundhog Day was all that great.
I'm totally there with you. The theme, quote unquote, song was just horrible. That they played at the beginning and at the end. But I'm usually the soundtrack nerd anyway, and I couldn't believe that I didn't have the Edge of Tomorrow soundtrack. So guess what? Went on my wish list on my iTunes today.
There you go.
Was the Edge of Tomorrow soundtrack.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But anyway, that was just one thing I wanted to mention in overall is the music.
I love the music in Groundhog Day because it just is so unique to the movie. The opening where they're driving from Pittsburgh to Puxatawny, that Weatherman song. I must have seen Groundhog Day 15 times now.
Really?
And I fell in love with it probably on VHS, renting it from like Video City when that was still a thing. But I just loved this movie and we'll watch it a lot. That song just got stuck in my head and just like synonymous with this. And the polka, the Pennsylvania polka they play over and over and over again, it just becomes, it fits the movie. It's annoying and repetitive.
Yes.
And you're like, God damn it. It's stuck in your head.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we kind of touched on this, but I think the overall thing that I take away from this podcast is that the attention to detail that Edge of Tomorrow, the reason Edge of Tomorrow is so much better than a lot of the other movies that are out is just that attention to detail, the continuity and the script supervisor. And this is one of those things where you absolutely need a really great team top to bottom, where if somebody drops the ball, it can really ruin the movie. And the direction with Doug Liman, and there were so many corners that they could have cut, and there were so many different ways that they could have edited it. I mean, just the fact that because of the nature of the time loop that they use, I mean, this movie could have been put together in infinite number of ways, and they had so many different options to play with time and to make those comedic beats work and not work. And then when it needs to get dramatic, how do they sell the dramatic? And it's so well done, and just every part of it really shines. And I think it's just an example of you're putting so much money into this movie. Just take the time and do it right, And I know that you have, release dates and all that other stuff to meet with, but wouldn't you? I mean, when the movie comes out, wouldn't you rather have a good movie that comes out late than a movie that's released and forgotten? So,
well, and a lot of times I agree with you, Tom. Having worked on quite a few indie films, I feel like a lot of times we're in such a hurry, we're not paying a lot of attention to the details, which can sometimes help the film. It's the little things sometimes that can help push the film forward.
Right.
And, and not just the little indie films, where we don't have a lot of money, so we don't have a lot of time. But also, if you look at some of these big budget films, you can say action, yeah, of course, but also some of the dramas and the comedies, it's just such a broad brush, and there's those little details that get left out, which I think can sometimes, well, no, I don't think. I believe that, that can make or break a film, are the little details.
Yeah.
It shows your awareness of the story that you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about making the right decisions
right
for your movie, and not getting tired or burned out and quitting and pursuing your vision and fighting for what you want. And that, I think movies like Edge of Tomorrow really succeed because of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you can't go full Kubrick either. I mean,
right?
No, yeah, you gotta have a line.
You can't have him saying right 83 times. I mean.
No, exactly. We covered a lot. We covered editing, cinematography. Groundhog Day. I didn't really notice too many shots. That the shots were good for the story.
Yeah. Very different. The shots are for very different reasons.
Right. The pacing is so very different. But some of the shots in Edge of Tomorrow were very energetic and very well done. But Gabe hit on this, where it was just changing some of the angles, and you still knew where you were, which I thought both of these movies did really well. So you didn't have to rely on the person doing the same exact movements every time. They would change the camera angle, and you still knew where you were. It's just like trying to it's essentially telling your brain, something different's happening right now than what you already saw, type of thing. And I really enjoyed that aspect of both of these films.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to talk about just briefly, just to get your guys' thoughts on it, is the thematics of these films. Thematically, what are they touching on, and how do we relate to these things in this story, and what does it mean to us? And one of the things I thought about and I imagine you guys did too, is what if I were in that situation? What if somehow I were in a situation where I was living the same day over and over? What would I do? How would I approach that? And I was wondering what you guys thought. Like, what would you guys do if you were stuck in Groundhog Day and you had to live the same day over and over?
Probably the same thing he does.
I agree.
One of the cool things, speaking of that, Gabe, one of the things that is really cool also about Edge of Tomorrow is that it could have been kind of a numb action movie, but I like the themes of cowardice and bravery. And is bravery really just like a desensitizing yourself to these traumatic events? Because the movie starts out and he's cowardly. He doesn't want to go to the front lines, and I mean, who can blame him for what's about to happen? But by the end of the movie, what he does, I mean, you have to remember this is a guy like had never fought in combat before, and suddenly people would be like, wow, he's so brave. Well, is he really brave, or has he just been desensitized to these events around him that, And it does a really cool job of just kind of defining and asking that question, what is bravery? So
right. And yeah.
I think that's a great point. And Bill Pullman says, you can't have any bravery without being scared. And
Bill Paxton?
Bill Paxton, what I say.
You did it.
I did.
You did it.
Nice job, moderator.
Damn it, Kyle, you got in my head.
Dean Stockwell.
Harry Dean Stockwell. But in a lot of the biographies that I've read of people that have gone through war or first responders, it's always that I was scared out of my mind. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I had to do this. And I think Edge of Tomorrow really shows that well. He knows that he has to get through this. So that's his driving force. And he's scared out of his mind. But he knows he has to do it because he has this ability now. And I don't think it minimizes the fact that you have to be scared in order to show some heroics. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Right.
Well, he's confronted by that too when he tries to escape to London and have a beer. When he gets called a coward and sees what will happen if he fails. That London will fall. It's kind of a kick in his ass to get back on the horse. But to answer Gabe's question, I'd be really worried that the day I decided to do something really bad would be the day that it's not going to repeat. So I would constantly be anxious. They very quickly settle into I can't die, so going to try to kill myself a million ways. Right. What if you're wrong one day?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is kind of funny, because that's definitely something that Bill Murray faces without. But you feel like the first time he tries to kill himself, he does want it to be over.
Right. And so he does keep trying to kill himself because he wants it to be over. He wants the agony to be over. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Where's the period of, I don't know, a decade or so where he has truly lost his mind? Yeah. This would just be maddening.
Right.
I mean,
now one of the other gimmicks to make this work that we haven't talked about yet is that the day resets, but they both have memory of the previous day.
Right.
Yes.
That their memory doesn't get reset. And that's super important to make this work. Otherwise, it would just be like they would just wake up and it would be this Groundhog Day, and they wouldn't know that anything was different. But
they're the one constant in the universe.
Yeah. Now, I was wondering, does that work with them physically? Are they reset physically but not mentally? So, say for instance, if you were stuck in this loop and you said, "Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get super buff. So I'm just going to work out every day." Would that work? Would you continuously get stronger and bigger over time, or would that part of you get reset each day so you could?
I think that has to be reset too.
Right.
Because if he dies and his body's healed, then I assume.
But there is,
and the other part of that gimmick that is that their memory is retained, but everyone else's, because there's all these other people living this day over and over and over with him, but their memory gets reset.
Right.
They don't remember it, which I think is really important too. And what does that say about self and the world outside of you? What is real? Is it only you and your internal thoughts that are real, and everything else is just an illusion? It's kind of what it kind of comes down to a little bit.
They both kind of butt up against self-centeredness and your perception being reality, where when you're focused on nothing but yourself, you can be unhappy. You can push things away. You can, your arrogance can make people back away from you, and it's part of an echo chamber. Like, you're sad because you're egocentric. You push people away. You can't get any human contact, especially in Groundhog Day, where when you're so arrogant, and you feel like that makes you happy. But when you have to deal with that every day and nothing ever changes and you can't grow and no one will care about you no matter how hard you try, you can't get what you want. I think that's when you come to term with those hard truths, that's when growth happens. And you're like, oh, I am arrogant and self-centered, and it's not fulfilling. It's not good for me or healthy, and it's not helping me grow. And Tom Cruise being so, he's very charismatic. He obviously has a job to do, being this public relations coordinator for the military, but he's cowardly and he tries to blackmail the general. I don't think he did anything super bad at the beginning to get stuck in this loop, but he has to learn to be strong and do something that he has to do, even though he's scared to do it and frustrated by it over and over again. And that kind of is what we're all wanting for our life, right? We want to meet challenges and rise above them and grow and be better prepared for the next one. Mm-hmm. It's just we don't have the same day to practice over and over and over again to get it right.
Right.
We don't have a net. We have to learn this stuff in the finite time we have alive.
But don't you have times in your life where you feel like it's Groundhog's Day, where
absolutely,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
your life gets in a rut, you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Absolutely, when you're working long hours every day for weeks, etc., the calendar stops mattering, the day of the week stops mattering. It's just like, well, this is my life every day. Yeah, but things have to change. You have to change yourself, and other things have to change to get out of that rut. When you're talking about the physical stuff, isn't part of playing the piano, doesn't that have to be like muscle memory? Would he wake up with like weak fingers, weak hands, like, oh shit, I know how to play the piano, but my body sucks at it?
Right.
No,
I feel like, I don't know. Maybe there's no satisfying
like
answer.
That with guitar. I mean, you definitely, your muscles and your fingers, you build up calluses on your fingers, which makes it easier to play guitar and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's true.
Gonna be a hard question to get a satisfying answer because it's basically magic.
Right.
How much muscle memory though is mental though? I don't. Okay, this is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I do. Hey, okay. So change. I. By the way, I love this line in Edge of Tomorrow when they say, through readiness and discipline, we're all masters of our fate. And Farrell's like, you might call that ironic, but you'll come around. I love like how that's kind of the encompassing theme of the whole movie. And it's this kind of throwaway line with the scene, but it actually kind of it's actually repeated a lot in the movie in terms of him coming to terms with that very idea.
Well, and real quick, going back to days feeling like that, and I'm pretty sure Tom knows what I'm talking about, but the first, and since I'm new to it, but the first few months of having a newborn child is, you're kind of stuck in that loop where you're in a daze and all you're doing is caring for that child, and at night it doesn't really stop because they're awake and asleep and awake and asleep, and it's just this constant feeding, changing, sleeping, feeding, changing, sleeping. And there were a few days after we brought Liam home, within those first few months where I didn't even know what day it was. I was just kind of staring off into space. I was like, oh my God. And it's that can start to feel like, reliving the same day over and over again.
It is.
I'm sure any parent out there might be able to feel somewhat like that. If you guys don't have anything else to say about overall, I know we covered a lot about both of these films, but I wanted to give you some numbers before we vote on the final, on our final category. So, in Groundhog Day, there are exactly 38 days depicted in the film, either partially or in full, according to the website Wolfnards.
Is that a reference to
Got to be a reference to Monster Squad, right?
Yeah.
Bill Murray spends 8 years, 8 months, and 16 days trapped in Groundhog Day. The Movie Truth Review series calculated Murray spent 4,576 days, or 12 years, 6 months, and 11 days stuck in the loop. While the website Obsessed with Film claims, and this one was I believe it had the most information written down about it, about all these different ways that you could calculate it. He was trapped 12,403 days, or just under 34 years, in order to account for becoming a master piano player, ice sculptor, etc., etc. And at one point, Harold Ramis had mentioned that he wanted Phil to be stuck there for 10,000 years to kind of become a master of everything. But he, in one interview, he mentioned that he was in there for like 4 years, and then another interview, he said, no, maybe it was somewhere between 30 and 40 years. So there's a lot of debate about how many days Phil spends in Groundhog Day, but I like to think of the 34 years, because you would have to go through and master all of those things that he is doing. In Edge of Tomorrow, the day is shown to reset a total of 26 times, 25 resets that include the explicitly implied reset showing Rita's deaths on the battlefield while trying to get off the beach, plus the final reset. Although there were only 26 resets explicitly shown, it is implied that Cage resets the day hundreds, perhaps thousands of times.
Yeah.
So, once again, you get into that. He's got to learn how to fight. He's got to learn all of these tactics. He's got to learn. You're talking about someone, as someone mentioned, never spent any time in these suits or on the front lines. So I just find that interesting that people have gone through and tried to do the calculations.
Losers!
I wish I had the time for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just saw the Iowa
reset.
State basketball score. Sorry.
Oh boy.
Now, if they were to reset over and over again, I might have time to do that. But
right.
Since it does it, yeah.
Right.
But it is interesting. It's kind of fun.
All right, let's put it to a vote, Kyle.
Both very good movies. I like them both a lot. Groundhog Day is very rewatchable. The first time I see Stephen Tobolowsky walk down the street, I think, oh, I'm in for a good time, because I'm going to get to see this 5 times and it's going to be great. But Edge of Tomorrow is one of those movies that I love, that is so tonally on point and feels complete. Even the throwaway lines mean something. There's no wasted space. It feels crafted by someone who knows and loves what they're doing. And I appreciate that so much. So I'm going to vote for Edge of Tomorrow.
All right. Gabe.
Yeah, we talk about rewatchability a lot, and I think that's especially apropos for these two films, revisiting them over and over. And I would watch both of these over and over. They're both very enjoyable in their own ways. But I can tell you, I have watched Edge of Tomorrow, a dozen times easily. I think it must have been on HBO for a period of time.
It was,
and that's kind of like Groundhog Day, HBO, because they show the same movies over and over for a month or whatever. And I think every time that I happened to see that it was on, I probably watched it. And I will come back to it again. I enjoy it just so much. There's so much good stuff in it. So it has to be Edge of Tomorrow for me.
All right. Tom?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Simple and precise.
Yeah, I think everything's been said.
Yeah. I have to agree with you gentlemen. I think Edge of Tomorrow is probably in my top 10, if not my top 5 favorite sci-fi films. Like, I really, really enjoy that movie. And that's not taking anything away from Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day is a great comedy. I enjoy that movie. I haven't seen it as much as I think I probably have. And especially watching it, on AMC or, on a TV, on a network that shows commercials, you miss a lot. So, after rewatching it again, I was like, oh, I don't remember that ever happening. And simply because I probably was remembering more of a TV cut than a theatrical cut. All right, let's move on to our recommendations for this month. And we will start with Tom.
I don't have so we did Looper. We did a show about Looper, and I'm stalling while I think of something. But I'll be honest. I think I'm gonna go ahead and recommend Black Panther. It's a new Marvel movie that has not come out yet. So I'm gonna recommend a movie I haven't seen, but all the reviews started coming out this morning, and I've been going over them, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I will say I think Rotten Tomatoes has completely flown off the rails because every movie that comes out now is like, oh my God, perfect score. I don't think Rotten Tomatoes is relevant anymore because it's just like, if it's good, it's like either thumbs up, thumbs down anymore, and it's such bullshit. Anyway, but Metacritic has got a really high score, which is what I prefer, and they love Black Panther 2. And I'm hearing a lot of really, really great things about this being one of the best, if not the best, Marvel movie so far. So by the time this comes out, Black Panther will be out, and you should go see it. So
I'm really looking forward to it.
I am too.
I liked Black Panther as a character, and I think the two lesser known characters that got their own films, Doctor Strange and Black Panther. Well, and let's throw in Guardians of the Galaxy in there. I really look forward to those, and I would have discussions with people like, really? I've never heard of them. It's like, oh, you kind of have to be in the know for comics. Now, I don't know everything about comics. I don't really have the nerd cred as a lot of people that I know do, but I think Black Panther is going to be pretty good.
I just, this is like we were talking about the detail that they put into Edge of Tomorrow. The only thing you hear on the internet is negativity anymore. And I really think that Disney with Marvel and Star Wars they take the time and they're just like, look, we're not going to put out crap. We're not going to sacrifice an entire franchise over one shitty movie. So let's stop, redo it, and make it right. And I think they've done a really, really great job with it. That's why I have a lot of faith in where they're doing and choices they're making. And, until they make 3 or 4 bad ones in a row, I'm going to stick with them. So go see Black Panther. It's probably good.
All right.
It'll be interesting to hear your review of it after you see it. And see if it holds up.
Update next month.
Yes.
Actually, I'm living this day over and over again.
So you'll never actually get to see it.
You'll never see it.
No.
It's
So
terrible.
no, it's okay. But I am trying to have sex with Andy McDowell, so I'll let you know how that goes.
Okay.
Kyle.
So we can recommend movies that aren't out yet. I like to recommend Marvel's Infinity War. I think it looks great.
Wait.
This
the trailer.
month. Black Panther comes out this month.
Wait.
Well, the trailer looks. Hold on, no. The movie isn't out yet, Tom. So you don't get to write the rules. This is magic, just like Groundhog Day. So Marvel's Infinity War. It's going to be an awesome time. Probably 3 hours long. You're going to love it. And that thing that happens at the end. Holy shit! Who saw that coming, right?
Do you have a real?
You're up, Gabe. That is. Hold on. I thought this was a democracy. Are we not all treated the same here?
Gabe.
I want to change my recommendation. Never mind. I'll change my recommendation tomorrow. Go ahead.
Tomorrow. Right. Which will never come. Okay. Well, I'm going to go kind of the complete opposite of you guys. You guys you're recommending these huge, like mega budget, action-packed, huge films.
Gabe, I'm going to be real disappointed if your movie is already out.
It is actually. It is. It's been out for about 13 years. It's a movie called Primer. Oh, have you seen it?
Yes.
it's interesting. I'm not sure I've really wrapped my head around it completely. I watched it recently, and I'm not sure I've wrapped my head around it completely. But it's an interesting film because it's an extremely low budget film made for $7,000.
Yes.
And shot on 16 millimeter film. It's pretty rough around the edges. It's not a highly polished film. I had a hard time hearing some of the dialogue because the sound wasn't so great. And there's a story about why the sound wasn't so great. And there's some shots that are just flat out of focus. And
yes, there is.
And it's not. You do?
Yes.
It's a little bit rough, but it's definitely thought provoking, and it's an interesting take for a micro budget independent film to go so ambitious with the idea and the concept. It's very high concept, very low budget. And yeah, if you're in the mood for a thinker, I would definitely recommend it. Give it a shot. Like I said, I'll warn you, it's a little rough from a production value standpoint at times, but it definitely makes you think. And I may have to revisit it again to kind of really fully understand what's going on.
I agree with you. I still don't get it, but
yeah, it's interesting.
There are websites out there devoted to figuring it out.
Right.
Also, please put that on my tombstone: high concept, low budget.
I like it.
Okay. Before I go, Kyle, Tom, do you guys want to change your recommendations?
Marvel's Infinity War, going to be a blockbuster. Catch it while it's in theaters. It's going to be an experience.
And I guess go see Black Panther because my movie comes out this month, which is realistic, and I haven't read reviews. Kyle's basing it on one. Kyle's basing it on one.
See what you started, Tom.
Pretty good trailer.
You started it.
Do you
want
to bet which one makes more money?
Hey, if you don't knock it off, I'm going to start recommending books again.
Oh,
and I'm going to start recommending movies you shouldn't watch.
That's right. We've done that too. All right. I'm going to recommend a film that's actually 20 years old. Oh my God, I'm old. It's called Run, Lola, Run. And it fits somewhat into this whole loop, but it tells the story of after a botched money delivery, Lola has 20 minutes to come up with 100,000 Deutschmarks. And it tells it from three different possibilities of what happens within the story. And I love this film, but one thing that I really, really do like is the soundtrack. The soundtrack is fantastic. It has Franca Potente? Is that how you say it? Potente? And she has been in the Bourne movies as the love interest.
Yeah, there's a relation to these movies.
That's
with
right.
Doug Liman directing. Yeah.
That's right. Thanks, Gabe. And and I really think you should check it out. It is a well done film. I really enjoy it. And like I said, it came out actually in the USA in '99, so it was released in Germany in '98. But check out Run, Lola, Run. Okay, check out Black Panther and Marvel's Infinity War Part 1.
Coming to a theater near you soonish.
Soonish. In the future.
All right, let's poke the monkey.
No, hang on a second. Hang on. I do want to change my recommendation.
Okay.
I think everybody should go see the third and final film in D.B. Weiss's and David Benioff's Star Wars trilogy. The third movie is fantastic. Coming to theaters 2028.
Nice.
And I would like to recommend the book about the making of that movie.
All right, now my feelings are getting hurt. Can we just wrap this up?
All right, let's find out who won.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Edge of Tomorrow!
Ooh.
It started out close. It was the first round. It was a flat out tie, but it went downhill.
I think what happened is Andy McDowell happened. That's what happened. That's
old Andy McDowell syndrome.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay, boys. Where can people find you and maybe try to relive a day with you over and over again? We'll start with Gabe.
Oh boy. Yeah, if you can find me on Facebook, but I don't spend much time there. And then you can also what's that?
Humble brag.
Yeah. No, I don't. So I'm not on Facebook. Well, I am, but I don't really do anything there. Anyway, and you can check out our 48-hour films at onegenomeshort.com.
All right, Kyle.
You can find me in line for Marvel's Infinity War Part 1 coming this summer. It's going to be amazing. I suppose you could find me on Facebook. If you do, send me a message. Ask me what my favorite color in the box of crayons is. Spoiler alert, it's burnt sienna.
Nice. Mine's taupe. It's very soothing. Tom.
Yeah,
You
Facebook.
would be taupe.
Facebook, Vimeo, kind of on Twitter, but not too much. But people can generally find me swimming in the basement of the Louvre with Andy McDowell and Chris Elliott practicing my belly flop over and over and over.
Very nice. Nice.
Thank you.
You can find me Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want. You don't want to follow me. I'm pretty boring. You can check out our 48-hour films at Southsider Studios on YouTube. And as I'm clicking to try and find my notes, Cinesmack would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. For March, we're shipping off to Boston as the Boondock Saints try to clean up the town. For Tom, Kyle, Gabe, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
Then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. This is Cinesmack. And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 83 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Mr. Gerolf Rowold.
Good evening. How is everyone this evening? I didn't know what to say. You got me a little flustered there.
Oh, sorry. All right. I will say thank you for the bullet bourbon. For my birthday, I am sipping it right now.
Great.
So
great.
all my
I hope you're enjoying it.
mispronunciations and slurs tonight will be brought to you by Bullet Bourbon.
You're welcome.
Second, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Mr. Timothy Haggis.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hang on, let me try that again. Hey, how's everybody? Hey, how you doing? How's everybody doing? That one. Let's go with the last one.
I'm doing well, Tom. Thank
Can you edit that so it's just the one you wanted?
Yeah, sure. I'll get
No,
right
no,
on it.
The joke's ruined. Don't do that.
Oh, okay.
That was the joke. See what?
Yeah.
It'll make sense later.
Uh-huh.
Third, writer, actor, and director, Mr. Kyle Fine.
Hey guys, I don't have deja vu very often, but ever since I've been bathing myself in groundhog blood, it's coming around, more often than I thought, which is weird because I don't have deja vu that often. But ever since I've been bathing myself in groundhog blood, It's been coming around more often, which is weird because I don't have deja vu often. But since I've been bathing myself in groundhog blood, it's starting to feel really similar.
Oh, nice one, Kyle.
Thanks.
And fourth, well, we don't have a fourth tonight. Tosh is apparently, we received a telegram from him. He is in the Alps looking for the Yeti part of his family. We hope Tosh is doing well on trying to find his roots and his real parents.
You know, if we all chipped in for 23andMe, we could speed this all up.
We probably could.
That's a good point.
Maybe we should have brought that up before he left.
I thought the whole point was. I thought the whole point was to get rid of him.
Oh, that's true. Our listenership has gone up.
It has, and he sent me pictures of his yurt today. It's he's got a nice setup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Sending you yurt pics?
Oh my.
Crossing off yurt on my podcast bingo card.
Oh.
I've got it on one of them.
My free space.
Yeah, I'm counting free space as yurt. All right, let's go ahead and poke the monkey and find out what we're talking about tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, Groundhogs and Mimliks! Jeez,
What's a mimlik?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Just go back and try again. Ladies and gentlemen!
Did you say gerbilman?
Yeah, I think so. Can you imagine?
Okay, Ron, give it another shot.
If there were actually gerbil men, would they put us up their butts?
Ron, focus.
Okay, go back. I got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, grandmas and rimlicks!
Okay, now you're just doing it on purpose.
Ladies and genitalia!
Have you been drinking?
Maybe.
You gotta give me a real one. Still rolling.
Labios jingling!
Damn it.
Last one. I'm sorry, man.
My mom listens to this.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Barely. Ladies and gentlemen, Groundhogs and Mimics, welcome to the main event. Tonight, it's a time loop tussle as Groundhog Day takes on the edge of tomorrow to see who will break the cycle and who will relive losing this episode over and over and over and over and over. In the first corner from 1993, written by Danny Rubin and Harold Ramis, and directed by Harold Ramis, starring Bill Murray, Andy McDowell, and Chris Elliott. Groundhog Day! In the second corner, from 2014, written by Christopher McQuarrie and Jez Butterworth, directed by Doug Lyman, starring Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt, and Bill Paxton. Edge of Tomorrow!
We've actually been talking about doing this episode for a few years now, and maybe we've just gotten desperate enough to do it, but usually February is left for, you know, a rom-com or a rom-com, and we decided to celebrate one of the other holidays. Can you call it a holiday? Is it a national holiday?
We lost Gabe. There's Gabe.
Oh yeah,
I'm back.
Gabe's back.
Sorry, I'm back. Hit the wrong button.
Is the day gonna?
I was trying to unmute.
Is the day going to start over now that Gabe's back?
Yeah.
That's all part of this. That's all part of this episode too.
Okay.
Rejoining the call over and over.
So, would you guys consider Groundhog Day a national holiday? Is it a national holiday?
I think it's probably one of the most useless holidays, if I'm perfectly honest with you.
I think so too. But
It's a national holiday in a way. Arbor Day is a national holiday.
right.
Right?
Everybody goes to work.
I rank it right above Halloween.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate Halloween.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a buzzkill. Deal with it.
Well, that's it. Let's end the show.
Okay.
Can't even be nice about being a buzzkill.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna suck the fun out of that too.
Okay, so like I said, we've been talking about doing it, and we've always come up with a rom-com or a romance film. So this year we finally get to do these two films back to back, and I have to say, I really like both of these movies, and I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. So let's go ahead and start things off with our first round, which is writing.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.